It all began on a cold winter night in the quiet town of Ravenshade. A lone music researcher, Aidan Clark, had spent months digging through ancient manuscripts and forgotten phonographs, hoping to discover rare compositions lost to time. His latest find was something different, a recording that had no origin, no history, and no trace of the composer. It was simply labeled, Lullaby for the Lost. Aidan had come across the recording in the archives of an abandoned estate, the former home of Evelyn Blackwood, a pianist and composer whose tragic death was whispered about but never fully understood. The house had long been rumored to be haunted, but Aidan was a man of logic and curiosity. He dismissed the stories and took the recording back to his studio. The moment he played it, an eerie sensation settled over him. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, yet something about it felt wrong. It was as if the notes themselves were laced with sorrow, each tone echoing a forgotten despair. As the lullaby filled the room, the temperature dropped noticeably, and shadows flickered along the walls, shifting unnaturally. That night, Aidan couldn't sleep. The lullaby replayed in his mind, as if it had embedded itself into his thoughts. He dreamt of a pale woman standing by his bedside, humming the tune with lifeless eyes. Her lips moved, whispering words he could not understand. When he woke, his recorder was playing the song on its own, though he had turned it off before bed. Determined to understand its origin, Aidan dug deeper. He uncovered a chilling legend about Evelyn Blackwood. She had composed the lullaby for her unborn child, but tragedy struck when she lost both the baby and her life under mysterious circumstances. Some said she had taken her own life. Others believed something had taken her. As he listened to the song again, he noticed a pattern, hidden voices beneath the music. Faint, tortured cries, desperate whispers, and something else. A breath, soft but deliberate, as if someone were there with him. Aidan's research led him to Evelyn's only living relative, an elderly woman named Margaret Whitmore, who resided in a care home. When he played the lullaby for her, her reaction was immediate, her face twisted in terror, and she screamed for him to stop. That song, it was never meant to be heard, she cried. It's a summoning. You have to destroy it before it's too late. But it was already too late. That night, Aidan experienced horrifying visions. His reflection in the mirror grinned when he wasn't smiling. Shadows moved when there was no light to cast them, and whispers echoed from unseen mouths. The lullaby played even when the recorder was unplugged. Something had latched onto him, something ancient and hungry. The more he tried to silence it, the stronger it became. His apartment became a prison of supernatural horrors. Objects moved on their own. His dreams were plagued by the pale woman, and his very mind felt like it was unraveling. Desperate, he sought help from Father Michael Maginot, an expert in exorcisms. The priest listened to the recording with a grave expression, and then turned to Aidan with a look of pure dread. This song is a curse, a conduit for the dead. It doesn't just summon Evelyn. It invites something far worse, something that feeds on those who listen. Aidan and Father Maginot devised a plan to destroy the recording. They took it to an abandoned chapel, where the priest performed a cleansing ritual. As the flames consumed the recording, the lullaby screamed, as if the song itself was alive and resisting. The very walls of the chapel trembled, and the shadow of the pale woman loomed over them, her mouth open in a silent wail. And then, just as suddenly, it was over. The air grew still. The nightmares ceased. The song was gone. Or so they thought. A week later, a new file appeared on Aidan's computer. It was labeled, Lullaby for the Lost. The song had returned, and this time, it was playing on its own. Aidan stared at the screen in disbelief. His fingers trembled as he hovered over the file. He hadn't downloaded anything. He hadn't even turned on his recorder since the ritual. Yet here it was, waiting. He deleted it immediately, but the moment he did, his speakers crackled. A faint hum seeped into the air, the unmistakable tune of the lullaby creeping back into his room. The lights flickered, and his computer screen turned black. Then, one by one, words appeared in blood-red letters. "You cannot silence me." Aidan's heart pounded. He yanked the power cord from the wall, but the screen remained on, the song growing louder. A shadow slithered across the room, taking shape. The pale woman was back. He ran. Out of his apartment, down the street, gasping for breath. He had to get to Father Maginot. The church doors were locked when he arrived. He banged furiously, shouting for help. Moments later, the priest opened the door, his face stricken with concern. "It's back!" Aidan gasped. "The song, it won't stop." Father Maginot led him inside. "We'll need stronger measures." This time, they didn't just attempt to burn the recording, they performed an exorcism on Aidan himself. As the priest chanted, the air thickened with an oppressive weight. The lullaby echoed from nowhere and everywhere. The walls shook, and Aidan screamed as something pulled at him, a force wrenching at his very soul. The shadow of the pale woman lunged toward him, shrieking, but the priest's prayers burned through the darkness. With a final, agonized wail, the entity shattered like glass. The song stopped. Aidan collapsed to the floor, gasping. For the first time in days, there was silence. Father Maginot helped him up. "It's over. The curse is broken." Aidan barely had the strength to nod. He left Ravenshade that night, vowing never to return. And for years, he never heard the lullaby again. Until one day, a package arrived at his doorstep. No return address, no sender. Inside was an old phonograph record. The label read, "Lullaby for the Lost." And then, from somewhere unseen, the music began to play.